You don't need an economics degree to feel it. You feel it every time you check out at the grocery store, every time rent goes up again, every time a raise doesn't change your life the way it used to. You're earning more numbers, but buying fewer things. And here's the unsettling part. Almost everyone feels this, yet very few can explain why. Not in slogans, not in headlines, not in sound bites. Because the real explanation isn't emotional, it's structural. And once you see it, you realize something disturbing. This isn't a temporary phase, it's a pattern. One that has appeared again and again across history, long before you were born, and long before the modern economy existed. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you won't just understand why money feels weaker. You'll understand why it had to become this way. This video is not about panic. It's not about collapse. It's not about predictions or advice. It's about systems. And systems don't fail loudly. They fail quietly. Then all at once. For most of human history, money was tangible. If you held it, you owned it. If you lost it, it was gone. Gold, silver, copper. Money had weight. Scarcity gave it value. No committee could create more of it. No emergency meeting could dilute it. But scarcity has a problem. It doesn't scale. And as civilizations grew, something had to change. Paper money wasn't born out of deception. It was born out of necessity. Empires expanded, trade accelerated, armies grew larger, administration became complex. Carrying metal across continents became inefficient. So paper replaced weight. At first, paper wasn't money. It was a claim, a promise that something real existed somewhere else. And for a time, those promises were honored. But history tells us something uncomfortable. Every monetary system based on promises eventually faces a test. And when that test arrives, value doesn't disappear overnight. It erodes. Ancient Rome understood money better than we remember. The denarius was once nearly pure silver. It powered the Roman economy for centuries, but empire is expensive. Legions needed pay, borders needed defense. Infrastructure demanded constant funding. Taxes weren't enough, so Rome made a subtle change. They reduced the silver content of their coins. The coins looked the same. They felt the same. They spent the same. At first, over decades, the silver content fell from nearly pure to almost nothing. Prices rose, savings evaporated, trust dissolved. Rome didn't collapse because of inflation. But inflation revealed something deeper. When money weakens, social order follows. This wasn't a Roman anomaly. Centuries later, Spain experienced something similar. Silver poured in from the Americas. Suddenly, money was everywhere. And yet, paradoxically, people felt poorer. Prices surged, wages lagged, purchasing power collapsed. Economists later named this phenomenon. At the time, people just called it hardship. The lesson was clear. More money does not mean more prosperity. Sometimes it means the opposite. Then came the 20th century. After World War I, Germany faced impossible debts. The solution seemed logical: print. At first, it worked. Then it accelerated. Paychecks lost value within hours. Savings became meaningless. People spent immediately, not because they wanted to, but because waiting was punishment. Money didn't fail suddenly. It failed faster and faster and faster. And when trust finally broke, the damage extended far beyond economics. Now pause, because this is where most narratives go wrong. What we are experiencing today is not Weimar Germany. It is not Rome. It is not collapse. What we are experiencing is something far quieter and far more dangerous to ignore. Modern money doesn't explode. It decays, slowly, predictably, by design. Most modern economies target inflation, not zero inflation, not stable purchasing power, but controlled loss. The logic is simple. If money slowly loses value, people are encouraged to spend, borrow, and invest. Economic activity continues. Growth persists, on paper. But this introduces a trade-off, one that rarely makes headlines. Inflation doesn't destroy money evenly, it redistributes it. From savers to borrowers, from fixed incomes to flexible ones, from cash holders to asset owners. This isn't a theory, it's arithmetic. A currency losing just a few percent of value each year quietly halves its purchasing power within a generation. No crash required, no panic needed, just time. Here's where many people feel something is wrong, but can't name it. They work harder, they earn more. Yet life feels heavier, not because effort disappeared, because purchasing power did. Wages don't move at the speed of prices. They never have. Prices adjust instantly. Wages renegotiate slowly. That gap between rising costs and delayed income is where pressure builds. That pressure doesn't show up in GDP. It shows up in anxiety. Now layer in debt. Modern economies are debt-based systems. Governments rely on it. Corporations depend on it. Consumers live inside it. Debt changes everything. Because inflation, while harmful to savings, makes debt easier to carry. In a heavily indebted system, stable money becomes uncomfortable. Weaker money becomes convenient. This isn't corruption, it's incentive alignment. Systems move toward what keeps them functioning. even if that function slowly erodes individual stability. Here's the part rarely discussed. Inflation doesn't just change prices, it changes behavior. People stop saving. They rush into assets. They chase anything that feels solid: real estate, stocks, land. Not always because those assets are productive, but because money feels fragile. Housing becomes more than shelter. It becomes protection. And when shelter becomes protection, prices disconnect from wages. This has happened before. It always follows the same psychological path. Now zoom out again. Since the early 1970s, global money has been fully trust-based. No commodity backing, no physical anchor, just institutions, policy frameworks, and credibility. Trust works until it's tested. And trust has been tested repeatedly. Financial crises, emergency interventions, massive liquidity injections, each one justified, each one stabilizing, each one slightly diluting the system. None of this causes immediate collapse. That's the point. It creates drift, a long, grinding drift where money functions, but less effectively than before. This is why people feel disconnected from official narratives. They're told the economy is strong, and it might be in aggregate, but averages hide distribution. Distribution is where life happens. If this is making sense so far, stay with me, because this next part explains why this moment feels different, even though the pattern is old. Speed. Technology has compressed everything. Markets react instantly. Capital moves globally in seconds. Information spreads before understanding catches up. Cycles that once took decades now unfold in years, and perception lags reality. At the same time, demographics are shifting. Aging populations, lower birth rates, rising dependency, public system strain. Once again, inflation becomes the quiet pressure valve. Not a solution, a delay. History shows us something sobering. Late-stage monetary systems don't collapse loudly, they grow complex. Rules multiply, interventions increase, exceptions become normal. Everything still works, until suddenly it doesn't. The most unsettling part isn't that money loses value. It's that most people don't notice until the loss feels personal. By then, the process is already mature. So what's the reality? Not that money is fake, not that collapse is inevitable, but that modern money is designed to change, to adjust, to sacrifice preservation for continuity. That trade-off has consequences. Slow ones, predictable ones, historical ones. Every monetary era ends the same way, either through reform, gradual and painful, or through reset, sudden and disruptive. Which path comes next is never obvious in real time, only in hindsight. We don't know the timing, we don't know the trigger. We only know the pattern, and patterns don't repeat perfectly, they rhyme. The real question isn't whether money will keep losing value. It's how societies respond when enough people feel it at once. That moment hasn't arrived. But history suggests it always does, eventually. If you want to understand economic systems, not headlines, not opinions, consider subscribing, because the most important changes don't announce themselves. They unfold quietly. And by the time they're obvious, they've already reshaped everything. Now I want to hear from you. Do you think this erosion is manageable, or do you think we're approaching a turning point? History leaves clues. The present sends signals. The future remains unresolved. And that uncertainty is exactly where we are right now.